Daytona. After a wild night, a new way of qualifying for the Daytona 500. You'll see it live today on a cool, sunny day. 49 drivers hit the track, 43 a week from today in the Great American Race, including two-time Daytona 500 winner Matt Kenseth and the man of the moment after what he accomplished last night. Fox Sports proud to present Daytona 500 qualifying as we come to you live from Daytona International Speedway, the calm and cool of the drivers who hit speeds of 200 miles per hour and a lot more in just a bit. We're at the infield ready for first time ever group qualifying at the Daytona 500. By the end of today, we'll know who's on the front row for that 57th running of the Great American Race. The Hall of Famer, Daytona 500 winner, of course, Darrell Waltrip, two-time Daytona 500
Shouldn't you be out there?
Michael Waltrip.
Getting ready to go.
Oh, okay. And in a moment, Kenny Wallace and I, we have attended many Daytona 500s.
Yes,
and
we
it's nice to have you with us on the panel throughout the afternoon. Now, we're all in suits. You're in your fire suit because you'll be in that 55 Toyota. So give us a sense of what the drivers are going through at this moment, since it's the first time we've had this at the Daytona 500.
We got all the Toyota drivers together to talk about our plan for qualifying, and we determined we have a plan. We're going to try to stick together and draft up on other cars. That plan could go out the window in a hurry, though. You know, it's only 5 minutes. If you wait around too long, you won't be able to get out on the track in time to get a couple of good laps. There's a lot of nervous people in the Toyota camp about how this is going to play out.
And here's how
business attire. Right?
That's right. And the format, here's how it works. He mentioned 5 minutes. Two groups will run 5 minutes each. Fastest 24 advance to the next round. Then the fastest 12 to the final round. The fastest 2 on the front row. And the 57th running of the Great American Race. Let's welcome in the guys who will take you through that and through today's unique qualifying. It's Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy. Mike?
Thank you, Chris. We have seen knockout group qualifying in NASCAR at every racetrack, at every race, except the Daytona 500. So two things I think we do know. One, the fastest car here probably will not win the pole. And two, when they wave the green flag and start the clock for the first session, or for any session, nobody's going to want to go out first, Larry. Why not?
Yeah, unlike when we used to just have single car qualifying where it was all about the speed of your race car, the way this group qualifying works, if you can take that car that doesn't quite have the speed and you can nestle in line with a bunch of fast race cars, your speed is going to equal their speed. So therefore, you're going to look like you've got a really fast race car. It's going to be all about timing. The most important guy on the team, aside from my driver today, could be that spotter. Yes. He's going to be like air traffic control. As Darrell pointed out in the Hollywood Hotel, your biggest competition might be that 5-minute clock.
Darrell, it seems the one driver who will have the best advantage is the driver leading one group who can see another group in front of him and suck up in that draft. But how do you get in that position?
Yeah, it's the darndest thing I've ever seen. I talked to a bunch of these guys this morning, and you won't believe all the different strategies they have. The one common denominator, though, is teams, manufacturers working together. Whether it's the Chevy, Ford, or Toyota teams, they all agree that they're going to try to work with each other in their manufacturing group. So that's the one common denominator. The other thing is everything's on the table, and we don't know what's going to happen, just like you are. I have no idea what's going to happen. We're getting ready to find out.
Cars getting ready to roll. You heard earlier, Carl Edwards has no points. That's because his team is brand new. Jamie Little with Carl Edwards.
Well, Carl Edwards finds himself in a precarious situation. He's not locked in. You have to race your way in or, well, just qualify on good time today. So what is it like being in this position? It's been a while for you.
Yeah, it's a little crazy, really. We've got a new team, new sponsor with Eris, and we're hoping that everything goes really well. And We've got a good man watching over us today. We lost Wayman Adcock yesterday. He's a great guy and great family, and we're all thinking of him. And hopefully we can have a good run for him and a good run for this team. We do not want to be in that position to miss the race or have a big problem because of something in the 150. So a lot of pressure today.
Well, after his performance last night, so far so good. He finished third.
Thanks, Jamie. Everybody wants to crowd in, to get in position, to get in the right lane. It's like a toll booth at the end of pit road. Nobody wanted to be first. Everybody wants to be in that second group.
They're running over each other down there, trying to get into the group they want to. I mean, that was the darndest thing I've already seen something I've ever seen before. These guys wrecking each other on pit road trying to get out to qualify.
Looked like Black Friday at the mall. And everybody trying to be first.
Yep.
Now, it looks like Kevin Harvick in that 4-car, a reigning champion, he is going to be the lead driver pulling this line along. What we've seen, it's hard to be the quickest driver when you're pulling the pack along.
Now, let's explain the time that is being shown here in the upper right. That is the time to the end of the session. And when the session ends, for your lap to count, you must have begun your lap before the session ends. You can go on and complete it, but you're only allowed to go past the session-ending flag one time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the mad rush right there. The clock's ticking. And I mean, it's ticking, and it's ticking fast, because you're not going to get a lot of laps in 5 minutes.
Half the cars are on track right now, Group 1A. The other half will go out in Group 1B, and the fastest 24 overall will advance. Look right there at that number 44, trying to move up and trying to catch that second group. Reed Sorenson could really be in a great spot there.
He is in a great spot, Mike. He's got pushers behind him. He's got the draft of all these cars here in front of him. This guy right here could be the man on this run.
And Reed Sorenson has no points, has no chance to make the 500 except on speed or race his way in on Thursday. He's on that gotta go list.
It's going to be interesting to see, Mike Larry, just what that car's doing, if it's got enough speed to get the effects of the draft, the benefit of the draft.
Another car in a great spot is Austin Dillon, last year's pole sitter. He's leading the third group of cars around. And as we saw Sorenson go by, he has some right rear fender damage. That fender sticking out beyond the rear wheel is going to act like a parachute and slow him down.
I think that happened on pit road, Mike. I think when they're fighting to get out, I think that happened to him down on pit road.
Now, Joey Logano in that 22 car, he has went to the top of the pylon right now with less than 2 minutes to go in this group session right here.
In that second pack, they're trying to get past Reed Sorenson, whose car looks a bit wounded from contact.
Yeah, he's got the whole right rear quarter panel sticking out there, and that's got to be killing the speed of that car. We're down to 1.5 minutes here, so we're running. I mean, it's not going to be many more laps.
Denny Hamlin goes to the top of the chart with Austin Dillon.
Got one sideways.
And around turn one in the wall. And that is Reed Sorenson.
I think it was that quarter panel and the damage he had to the rear of that car that probably caused that accident.
Clint Bowyer had been trying to get past Sorenson to no avail.
And this group had really started getting dicey. You could start to see it as they were coming off turn 4 down the front straightaway.
I just wonder, Larry, if that flapping right rear quarter panel maybe cut his right rear tire down, and that's what created this problem.
Bobby Labonte driving for Frank Stoddard, past series champion. He's involved, and the red flag will stop the clock in this session.
This is the fear that these guys all had with this kind of qualifying, that there would be some cars that would get torn up by guys trying to make moves that they shouldn't really be making, but they're desperate to make them.
Bowyer had been trying to pass Sorenson because that fender, it's all damaged now, but it was billowing out in the wind, slowing his car down. But wow. When they came out on track, because of all the jostling for position on pit road, somebody got into Reed Sorenson. And right there, that right rear gets a shot from Justin Allgaier's 51.
Oh my gosh. Something, the car turned before it got to the corner. I'm not sure if, I don't know. I have to look at it again.
Well, let's try a different angle here.
Denny Hamlin at 11 had a bunch of damage too.
Head down toward turn 1 here. Running really tight, close together. Ooh, it looked like Bowyer started to go the inside and then shot back to the right, and when he did, he clipped the back of the 44 of Sorenson.
Hard to tell from that angle if perhaps Bowyer got turned by the car behind him.
It's kind of hard to tell. These two guys were mad at each other leaving pit road.
Chris Neville?
Mike, that's right. Clint Bowyer on the radio since they left pit road, just saying how he had to get around that 44 car and he couldn't. Reed Sorenson really blocking him around the racetrack, and he was telling the team, hey, that right rear fender pushed out. It's like a parachute, and the team telling him, you're losing that pack in front of him. You've got to get around him.
Involved in the crash, Bowyer, Sorenson, the 23 of J.J. Yaley, the 32 of Bobby Labonte, and the 11 of Denny Hamlin. You just saw Yaley out of his car.
And Mike, the interesting thing, Denny Hamlin is quickest right now in that 11 car.
Doesn't look like he has a lot of damage, Larry. Let's go back and look when the 44 and the 15 left pit road. I think that's where this started before we even got going. You watch the 15 and the 44, they're coming into this picture right here, right there.
Yeah, actually, that's Justin
51,
Allgaier
okay.
getting into the car ahead of him, and the accordion wreck took Bowyer into the back.
Put him into the back of Sorenson.
And there's that big fender billowing out there.
Yeah, it started stacking up in front of Reed Soren.
So we listened in on Clint Bowyer.
Do not do anything stupid to the other driver, please. Just stay in the car. Do not get out. Stay in the car, please.
That was Brian Patty, his crew chief, telling him to stay in his race car, telling Clint Bowyer to stay in his car.
And that's a rule. Don't forget, you're supposed to stay by your car, near your car, or in your car.
They call it knockout qualifying. There's one reason why. Driver's position toward the end of pit road. There are those Ford drivers all lined up in a group. The Stewart-Haas Chevrolet's a little further up to Jamie Little.
And Clint Bowyer has been checked and released. He's okay, but you're behind the 44. What do you see and what are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I was behind the 44. He come flying around, come up on the apron, jumps in front of me, then runs over the 51, stacks us all up, and I run into him. It's idiotic to be out here doing this anyway. There's no sense in being able to trying to put on some cute show for whatever the hell this is. Then you got a guy out there in desperation doing this crap like this. I mean, it's just, there's no reason to be out here. These guys have spent 6 months working on these cars, busting their ass on these cars to go out there and have some guy out of desperation do that crap. But it ain't his fault. It's not. It's NASCAR's fault for putting us out here in the middle of this crap for nothing. There's absolutely, we used to come down here and worry about who's going to sit on the front row in the pole for the biggest race of the year. Now all we do is come down here and worry about how a starting park like this out of desperation is going to knock us out of the Daytona 500. We've been in meetings for 45 minutes just trying to figure out what in the hell everybody's going to do just so we can make the race. It's stupid. There's no sense in doing this.
Very frustrated driver. He will go to a backup for Thursday's dual races. Guys.
Thanks, Jamie. Knockout qualifying was introduced last year to put drama and excitement into the qualifying procedure. It works in Formula One. It works well in other facets of the sport. It's been quite successful in NASCAR, perhaps with the possible exception of Daytona and Talladega, the two super speedways with the restrictor plates, where frustrations are evident. Now, what Bowyer was referring to as start and park drivers was a generalization of cars like Michael Annett and J.J. Yaley and even Carl Edwards, because these are teams that don't have enough points to be able to get into the race on a provisional. They're either going to have to race their way in or time their way in, and desperate drivers sometimes do desperate things.
And frustrated drivers sometimes say things that, you know, they would probably regret later on. But you can't blame Clint. I mean, he's very upset. That's the second car he wrecked. He wrecked one last night here in the Unlimited. He got a wreck today. And so, Matt, what do you got going on down there?
Well, catching up with the man who's fastest at this juncture, Denny Hamlin is currently first on the board. And slight cosmetic damage to your car. You dodged a huge bullet. Describe so far this early session.
Mayhem. You know, there's no other word to describe it. It's just everybody's on so many different agendas that it, you know, this stuff can happen. But it's, I don't know. It's the format we got to go by, and we're going to try to do the best we can to play the system and make it work. But you know, we flat spotted our tires here to where I can't join this last group. But you know, in one lap, it'll be hard for them to run faster than that. So we'll see how it all goes.
All right, thank you, Denny. Now, NASCAR will allow Hamlin and the 6 to change tires for the next round.
Nobody wanted to be first, and leaving pit road, Larry, this might be too little too late.
Yeah, you have to start the lap at the start-finish line before this clock right here gets to 0, and quite honestly,
they ain't gonna make
what we saw in practice, that's going to be very borderline.
I don't think they'll make it, Larry. I mean, that you had to leave pit road with a minute to go, and they were into the 50 seconds.
Well, somebody had to go first, and it's Front Row Motorsports. David Reagan should be assured a spot in the 500, but because that 35 team is new, they transferred Reagan's owner points from last year over to the 35. He has no points. He's got to go, and they got to get to the line before 0-1.
Should be over.
They don't make it.
They don't make it.
This lap will not count. Had they made it past the line before 0, then they could complete the lap and it would count as a time lap. Too little, too late.
But we had it timed out from up here. We knew you had to leave pit road with 60 seconds to go to be able to start a lap.
Yeah, we watched them yesterday in all the practice sessions, and we timed it out. And you had to leave with a minute to go to get back around here to take the green flag. And I don't know what those guys are thinking, but they weren't thinking right.
Darrell, I believe they were thinking nobody wanted to be the first group. They wanted to be the group that was catching the first group.
And you know what? Denny Hamlin's glad they played it that way.
Yeah. Well, I think Hamlin, Harvick, a bunch of those guys, they said, hey, they're not going to get up that. They can't run that fast in one lap anyway. But at least they should have given themselves a chance.
All right, then. Same song, second verse coming up. The other 24 cars, Group 1B is next.
Daytona 500 pole qualifying is sponsored by Ford F-150. Introducing the all-new Ford F-150, the future of tough.
Teammates Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano talking it over after they worked with Ryan Blaney, trying to post a good qualifying time that will advance them to round 2. Now, these times will not determine the front row of the Daytona 500. They merely advance you to round 2 if you're among the top 24 overall once round 1B is completed.
Mike and Darrell, I don't think these were the speeds that we thought we were going to see. We thought we would see much quicker speeds, but I think because they never really got assembled nicely, that'll be interesting. I think this second group, we might see that.
Yeah. I think, like we said, I said this in the opening, and I know I talked to a bunch of these guys. They really haven't got this thing figured out. And so until you figure it out, you're just out there going through the motions trying to figure it out.
Jamie?
Well, Reed Sorenson has just been checked and released, and I just asked you, do you have a backup? So you said no, but what is the game plan from here?
I have no idea. We'll have to reevaluate and see, but we don't have a backup cars now. But as you can see, I was just trying to block. I mean, that's what got Matt Kenseth the win last night, and I was just doing everything I could to stay in front of Clint. It's pretty obvious what I was trying to do. I didn't mean to wreck anybody or anything like that. So just a product of this type of qualifying, trying to get that one lap. I didn't want it to end that way, that's for sure. And I apologize to all the guys. And we'll hopefully get a car here and try to get in the race on Thursday.
All right, tough break for Reed Sorenson as the team will scramble to try to get a car together.
Now, you know what I call that? He manned up right there. Hey, I was blocking, and that happened, and it's a product a lot like the same thing Clint said, and he hates what happened.
If he moves out of line for Clint Bowyer and the rest of that train to go by, his lap is toast.
He's done.
Right.
Yeah.
See if we see the same chaos that we saw when that first group backed out and tried to leave pit road.
Just watch. I mean, already pit road is blocked. There's cars everywhere. You're looking for your buddy. It's just this little odd.
And maybe to answer the question, how are they lined up on pit road? They're lined up by a draw.
A blind draw. Now, the cars that were in Group 1A, we're going to leave them on the pylon on the right side because all of their times count. You will see drivers from Group 1B filtering up into some of those positions as they post times quicker than those that have already been recorded.
I believe this group is going to have a little different approach. I think they're going to weight this clock down right here to maybe to time it where they only run 2 laps. We saw that at Talladega last year.
Well, there's a lot of Chevrolets in this group, and there's the Hendrick cars, the Childress cars, quite a few Chevrolets in this group. Maybe they're going to work together as manufacturers.
I think Brad Keselowski hit it right on the head. Since nobody in Group 1A got to run a full 2 laps, they never reached maximum speed all the times in this group could be quicker than in the first group.
Creep up there, someone we're trying to go here.
If they're trying
to be the entire be ready here. Roll 20 starting to roll. Be ready. Don't worry about going yet. We're not going to lose them. 47.
If they're trying to run 2 laps,
we got to help. Our 42 is definitely with us.
They better get going.
Off, we'll be good.
But nobody wants to be first.
It's going to be the entire pack once we roll here.
I think somewhere around the 3-minute mark is 2:45 to 3 will get them 2 laps.
But nobody wants to go, and I don't understand this strategy. I really don't get it.
Daryl, what they're trying to do, they want to get that fast lap, and they don't want to give another group an opportunity by running a 3rd lap. We saw it at Talladega.
Yeah, it's just sitting here. I don't even know if they're going to get out for 2 laps or not.
And the first group will be at a disadvantage because there will be no one for them to catch up to in the draft. I'm with you, Larry. I think in the next 10 seconds, if you're not headed out there, it's going to be tough to get 2 laps in.
I think if they leave somewhere around 2:40, because remember, we're talking about a minute to get up to speed, and then the laps are somewhere around 45 seconds.
And it's on.
Of course, that's what I mean. Once they go, they all go.
Start rolling. 2 of them outside. Start rolling. Leave a gas still, though. Plenty of room. We got helpers.
Yeah.
That's a land rush right there.
I don't get it.
Now you see about half the cars have taken off in one group. Now as they form up and come to speed, who will have the advantage? Ryan Newman out first. A.J. Allmendinger with him.
I mean, I like the gaps. There's some good gaps here. Those first 6 cars kind of run into their own, and then you got 2 or 3 stragglers back there, but then there's a really good group back there. So, you know, they're spaced out to where you can get a little help from the draft on the cars in front of you.
All right, again, they're going to start this lap right here, and I think that's going to be enough time to get 2 laps. Here's the guy I think we need to watch. Matt Kenseth in that 20 car. He's the 3rd group. He has Jeff Gordon not far behind him, Michael Waltrip, Kyle Busch, trying to get that group assembled where they can get that lined up and in that draft.
I don't know, Larry. I agree with you on the 20 car, but they can't get up there and help him, and he's really too far back to get much help from the cars way up in front of him. I'm not sure he's in the best spot.
I think that plays right into Jeff Gordon's hands. If those 3
might be good for Jeff,
can close on Kenseth, Gordon could get a really quick lap here.
I think you're right. I think Jeff's the one that's in a great spot.
All right, they're going to come around and complete 1 lap, and I think when I look at the clock right here, they will have enough time to get that 2nd lap. But when I look at the group that's coming to the line right now, it's a mirror of what happened last year at Talladega. It's Chevrolets. They all have a Richard Childress Racing affiliation, and Ryan Newman is the guy at the front, just like at Talladega.
Eric Almirola, top of the board. Jamie McMurray, Ricky Stenhouse are the fastest 3.
That's over 200 miles an hour.
Sam Hornish climbed up there into the top 10. 200.28 miles per hour.
I really thought that 2nd group back there may have something, but they're having to pass cars that's running on the bottom, and I think that's going to hurt them.
Yeah, the spacing was just not exactly right, Larry, from to take advantage of the draft in front of them. Let's see what this lap gets. This might get some speed.
And for all that, Jeff Gordon 26 on the first lap. He moves up to 15th. Carl Edwards 3rd behind Almirola and Stenhouse.
And we're out of time if red and black's out.
But this lap will count.
It will count.
They're allowed to come under the red and black flag 1 time, and this will be to complete that 2nd lap.
This is when you're going to see some speed. I think we're going to see some fast laps right here. But Matt Kenseth has gotten a nice draft down the back straightaway with help.
I think that's going to be the group in the catbird seat because they have fast cars lined up right now coming off turn 4. As long as they don't move around too much.
Matt Kenseth, Sprint Unlimited winner. Last night brings Michael Waltrip across the line, and Waltrip jumps to 6th. Kenseth is 10th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. up to 8th.
That will end the session.
And to our point, we felt this group would be quicker. Denny Hamlin, who was quickest, is now 11th.
24 drivers move on to the 2nd of 3 rounds.
I think I would tell you something else. What do you got there?
Kevin Harvick, you just saw him. He got bumped all the way back to 29th.
And he was the fastest of the 4 Stewart-Haas cars. They are all right in a row, but none will advance. Mission accomplished for Carl Edwards. He moves on to round 2. But the front row for the 500 will not be set until round 3.
Ryan Newman missed it by 4 spots. Can you describe just how frustrating trying to work yourself in to go to the next round?
I wouldn't say it's frustrating. I mean, the frustrating part is just dealing with this whole system, which makes no sense whatsoever. So it's hard to stand behind NASCAR when everybody I talk to up and down pit road doesn't understand why we're doing this. So it's maybe I need to be sat down and educated a little bit, but it was not what we wanted for our Caterpillar Chevrolet, no doubt. But we also avoid the next few crashes that come in qualifying, which should never occur.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
Chris?
Well, Kurt Busch, part of that shortened first group, and Kurt, obviously disappointed you're not going to move on, but what kind of pressure does this mean for Thursday?
Well, I'd like to talk about all the hard work that goes into these cars and how much time and effort goes into building a Sprint Cup car to qualify at the Daytona 500. And we're a lot of smart people here. There's drivers, there's owners, there's NASCAR, and we got to find a better system. I mean, so much hard work goes into these cars, and then you have this roulette wheel for qualifying. It doesn't seem like it's the proper system, but hey, it is what it is, and we could be here smiling, getting belted up, going back out for the second round. But just want to thank all my guys for all their hard work, and Haas Automation, Chevrolet, Monster Energy, State Water Heaters, all of our sponsors. We should just take the cars as we build them in the off season, unload, pass tech, and then go qualify 1 car at a time, 4-lap average. That would really give a sense of pride to putting effort towards building a car to qualify for the Daytona 500 instead of just shaking up bingo balls.
The green flag will wave from the flag stand, and NASCAR will announce to the teams.
Green for round 2, 5 minutes.
It's on.
We'll be shy one driver in this second round that did advance, Bobby Labonte, who was involved in that crash. He was one of the fastest 24.
All right. Here we go.
Spotters on the roof in radio contact with their teams and drivers.
J.J. Yaley's another one that will not go out that did advance to round 2.
48.5 are just sitting back here. I guess they're not going to help us. So.
I see the 3 Penske cars. I see the 2, the 22, and the 21 look like they're grouped up.
Keep an eye on the clock right here. I would say we're going to see the same thing again, probably somewhere around 2:45 to 3.
There's a ramp.
And all that gesturing up on the spotter stand looks like the floor of the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Everybody trying to enter a bid and trying to get someone's attention. Get them to go together.
I've never seen anyone looking for a good parking place to start qualifying. Hamlin pulls up there and he backs up into a spot where he feels he's good to go.
I think that second group while ago, they maybe now know they might have went a little early because I don't think they wanted to get that 3rd lap in. I think they were really just wanting to get 2 laps.
Look at this. Let me jockey around here. You're going the wrong way, dude. We're supposed to be trying to see how fast you can go forward.
That's Ty Dillon finding his older brother Austin.
Behind the 78.
And you say they're trying to pull behind Martin Truex Jr. in their 78, another Chevrolet driver that has that technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing.
The way he ran last night, I'd want to get behind him too. All right.
I think we'll see that clock go a little lower this time before they leave pit road.
You know what I see coming? A great big clock on your dashboard. and you hit the button and it starts to run down.
Eric Almirola, top of the chart, weaving his way into position. Ricky Stenhouse going to come right up with Almirola. 2 Fords together midway of pit road.
There goes the 3. I mean, the 21's an alliance, so I call those the 3 Penske cars.
First car's leading pit road.
And it's on.
And we're off. I don't know what we're off to, but we're off.
Oh, 1 car did not roll, and that's Michael Waltrip.
Bye-bye. Just pull it out, keep it running.
Clutch problems.
Stuck underneath the floor mat.
All right, so the 3 Fords in front, 2 from Penske, 1 from the Wood brothers. Then a long gap to Greg Biffle, Trevor Bayne, and Sam Hornish. And then a couple of shorter gaps that could prove useful to the cars behind.
If you have enough time to, you know, some of these groups need time to get caught up and grouped up. Just don't know how much time they got to do that. This front group might not be bad, though.
Yeah, but that second group with Greg Biffle in that 16 car, but Darrell, you're right. I like this group right here that's led once again by Matt Kenseth in that 20 car.
Yeah, that's a good spacing. You got to look at the spacing, and you got to remember that the draft is effective. Oh, you got to be within a couple hundred yards of the car in front of you to get a good pull.
Ricky Stenhouse came out behind 4 cars with a big gap at the line. He is catching them in the backstretch. There's Stenhouse at the tail end of that group. He's got a strong pull from those cars in front of him, and he should have a really good lap.
And we saw in practice the Ford drivers in the draft. They laid down some fast speeds.
We've seen Fords run fast speeds here all weekend. They've been pretty good. Biffle's been one of the better ones, and certainly we know that Stenhouse has.
Keselowski 46.54. Here's that second group. It is Stenhouse 45.91. Now Dale Earnhardt Jr., now Denny Hamlin, now Jeff Gordon top of the board.
And they just started a second lap, so when you look there with a minute to go, they will get another lap after this one.
12 to transfer. Stenhouse got bumped all the way down to the 12th spot.
Yeah, what about there's Gordon first and his teammate Jimmy Johnson third?
And they go around Michael Waltrip, catching Michael. Could that help that group, Darrell?
It could, but it's moved them up the track, took them off the bottom of the track. It may help them. I think what's going to help them is the cars are passing and going by right here.
Wow, here comes Biffle. He's got a full head of steam as he brings his group to the line. Gordon still fastest. Jimmy Johnson to the top.
Boy, look at that speed, guys. That's a 44.57. That's got to be getting up close to 203 and change. 201 and change.
Those 3 cars, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Jamie McMurray, were in the right group, and they are the fastest of the 12 that will move on.
Whoa, this
to round 3.
Edgy. Ooh.
All right, what you're seeing, these drivers are trying to slow down. They don't want this group to be able to run quicker than what they did that last lap.
Man.
Coming to the line. Here comes Kenseth drafting off Michael Waltrip. And he slots in 7th.
And Jimmy Johnson saw what was going on, and he backed out and got out of the way in that 48 car.
Wow. They were going into the 3rd and 4th turn there. I wasn't sure they were all going to come out.
So teammates and friends never mind, because the fastest 3 in this session are from 3 different organizations. Hendrick Motorsports, Joe Gibbs Racing, and Chip Ganassi Racing. 2 Chevys and a Toyota in the top 3, led by Jimmy Johnson.
Man, I held my breath when they were going down the back into turn. Watch this, Mike. I mean, they get down here and there's cars everywhere and they're slowing down, they're speeding up. Here comes look at that, right through the middle.
Yeah, that like to have been big there.
That was, oh, so close.
Matt Kenseth leading that group. Good thing they had plenty of room, but Keselowski trying to get down and out of the way.
I mean, that was over 10 miles per hour differential.
That was weird.
The 12 drivers that advance include all 4 Hendrick Motorsports entries, all 4 from Joe Gibbs Racing. Track is open for the final round. The fastest 2 drivers in this round will start on the front row in next Sunday's Daytona 500.
And I think the cat and mouse game will be which group goes first, because you really, I think, want to be in that second group, that second wave.
Now look, they're all laying back there, and I'm surprised that.
Now you heard from Eric Almirola and Ricky Stenhouse. The good news for them is their speeds in round 1 were the 2 fastest times of the day. So they would be assured a spot in the 500 field.
Get above the plant line and we let them get around with their run. That way we don't get them all stuck behind us there, but I'll let you know.
Michael Waltrip, your thoughts on these first 2 rounds?
It's just it might be frustrating for the drivers, but I'm going to tell you what, the show is amazing. To be out there in the middle of all that and feel the draft, I had a great run. My spotter, Brett Griffin, told me to move up. Kyle was coming. That was the right call. It pushed us to the start-finish line, and we got in a really good time for our car. A lot of things can go wrong when you qualify like this, as we saw in that first session with Clint Bowyer. But for the fans, I think a lot of things go right, because it's fun to watch and crazy to be a part of.
So Michael clocks in 22nd. He will start 11th in his dual race on Thursday.
You see Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth, they're all the way at the end of pit road, sitting there side by side. Their Toyota teammates from Joe Gibbs Racing, Carl Edwards and Kyle Busch, they're all the way down toward the latter part. There they are way back there. So this is going to be interesting. You see now we're almost down to 3 minutes.
See, I think, Larry, in this session, it's almost like every man for himself. Look, you work your plan, we'll work ours. Apparently the 11 and 20, they're going to work together. And the 18 and the 19, maybe they plan on working together or with somebody else back there.
Jamie, how about the damage on Martin Truex's car?
Well, I just talked to his crew chief, Cole Pern, and he said that damage on the right side happened on his fastest lap. So he said, imagine how much quicker we even could have gone. But I said, are you worried about this last round? He said, it's not shaped perfectly. We should be okay, and she's going to look pretty in victory lane.
All right. Meanwhile, in the trading pit up atop the spotter stand, deals being made and plans being made. But remember, in round 2, the 3 fastest cars were from 3 different teams and 2 different manufacturers.
Yeah. Let's keep an eye on this right here. We're already halfway through round 3. This group definitely looking at only 1 to 2 laps.
I think 1 lap. I think just what we saw in that last session, you get 1 fast lap. You don't want somebody sucking up on you and helping them.
This is like watching.
Creeping, but don't go. I mean, they're creeping. They're just trying to get other guys to go. Do not go.
Go whatever it's back there. It's about Hamilton being on the front row. I didn't know who the other guy was.
It's an old Western movie. Gunfighters, itchy trigger fingers. Who will be first?
We're going to go if nobody else goes. I'm sure a whole bunch of other guys will too, but there's 2 minutes left right now.
Those are all the Hendrick radios.
All right, it's 2 minutes.
If it gets down to 1:45, absolutely 1 lap.
I think that's the plan, Larry. You don't want to help the other guys. So you go as your group, you get grouped up, you go as a group, and you hope you don't help the other guys.
We can't really check up, so they're creeping again. Couple up, one's creeping, he's not moving, he's just back in line.
135.
You got to leave at the end. You got to be on the roll at 1 minute, and we're down to 1.5 minutes.
130, 127. You've got to get a lap in here. I'm sending you if nobody else goes.
Just wait for them. If they don't go, just hold, man. Just hold. Just hold.
20 seconds.
If I'm a driver or crew chief, I'm saying go. Let's get a lap in.
Truex. Martin Truex is on the throttle.
Listen, it's like everything. All it takes is one. Once one rolls, they all roll.
We saw this happen in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series at Michigan last year.
If they don't get going, they won't make it. It's going to be real borderline for this back. If you're not up to speed or pretty good, it's going to be borderline.
But Darrell, what I see 9 drivers that's pretty lined up back there. If they can complete if they can get a lap started, they're going to be in great shape.
I tell you, the guy, I mean, Truex jumped out there. He's out there all by himself, way up here. You see him going down the back right now.
But the drivers in the back must cross the start-finish line before that clock gets to 0,
Let me tell
or their lap will not count.
And that's going to be close. We're at 23, 22, 20. That's going to be close for some of them to make it.
Being the rabbit, Martin Truex may have the right strategy.
We're down to 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9,
it's going to be close.
8,
at the back.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Time is expired.
They made it.
So this will be the money lap. This will count.
Well, I think if you watch that group right there, led by Casey Kane in the 5, that's probably where the pole sitter for the Daytona 500 is going to come from.
That group's in the catbird seat because they got 3 cars in front of them, and they're coming up on the back of them pretty quick. That group should put down the fast lap.
As long as they don't start slicing and dicing through 3 and 4.
No, I think they got it. I think they know they're in the best spot right now. Just stay right there, draft up on the cars in front of you, and you're going to have a pretty quick time here, I would say.
Just look how quick they're pulling up on those 3 drivers in front of them.
But and it's really it's almost perfect. It's almost perfect the way they timed that out. Those guys did. Good job.
Truex now, Earnhardt, Kane, Hamlin, Gordon
Johnson.
How about that?
Jeff Gordon will
48-24, baby. Love it, love it, love it. Awesome job, buddy.
That is unbelievable.
Man, that's awesome.
In the offseason, Jeff Gordon announced this will be his final season. He was emphatic last week, saying this will be his final Daytona Speed Weeks. And he'll start the 500 from the pole. How about that?
You can't make this stuff up, guys. I'm just telling you, you really can't.
And Chris, that's 23 consecutive seasons with a pole, and you start 2015 off fantastic. What's it like to get the pole in your last run at the Daytona 500?
Well, you know, the team at Hendrick Motorsports always puts so much effort into these restrictor plate races, and I mean every race, but you know, so much pride in the engine shop and the bodies and the engineering that goes into these cars. And you know, this year with this qualifying format, the driver finally gets to play a role. So with a fast race car and, you know, a lot of coordination between the spotter, Alan, you know, and myself and our teammates, that was pretty nerve-wracking. I didn't think we were going to wait that long. I really wanted to go sooner than that. But that just feels very gratifying, you know, just as a total team effort to be able to pull that off, to have a 1-2 for Hendrick Motorsports on the front row. And whew, that feels good. That's awesome. You know, this is one of the most gratifying polls here at Daytona that I've ever had. I mean, not just because, you know, my final Daytona 500, but because that, you know, you got to try to plan it out and you got to try to, you know, play that chess match, and we played it really, really well. I went to go off pit road pretty hard. I knew I had Jimmy behind me, and I saw the 20 and the 11 check it up, and I said, no, I want to be behind them. And it worked out perfect. I thought Jimmy was going to get it, and right there, you know, on that last lap, I got a little bit of a surge and sucked up to those guys. I thought this might be enough, and you know you wanted to be in the back, and that's part of the waiting game. And Talladega bit us here at won the pole for the Daytona 500. Awesome job to my team, everybody back at Hendrick Motorsports. Rick Hendrick, hey buddy, this is pretty awesome to be able to pull this off today.
We'll go celebrate. Congratulations, guys. Woo! Jamie?
A lot of drama over the last 2 hours, and it all came down to the final seconds. Jimmy Johnson on the front row. What was that last lap like for you?
I was kind of torn because if we stayed on pit road and didn't roll off, I think we had pole based on the way the rules are written. So I'm sitting there thinking, sure, guys, let the clock run out. I'll sit here on pit lane and wait it out. It's no problem. And then once we got rolling, I wasn't sure what would happen if the 78 crossed or you know, maybe 4 or 5 crossed and we didn't. So then I'm like, man, I hope I get there on time. We did, and then I'm the last car on that line. I thought, man, I've still got the pole. I'm in great shape, but it's good enough for second. So very interesting qualifying session, to say the least. But I just want to say thank you to everybody at Hendrick Motorsports for their hard work. To have all 4 cars in that final 12 was pretty cool. Obviously, the front row is very special. Big thank you to Chevrolet and then my awesome sponsor, Lowe's.
Jimmy Johnson, a 2-time Daytona 500 winner. He will start on the front row. Chris?
Drivers from round 3 in this first Budweiser duel and on through. So there'll be 25 cars to start. Top 15
quite a
make
few
the
happy,
race.
Quite a few happy drivers, particularly 2 on the front row, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. But you just saw Carl Edwards. He's elated. So this worked out very well for some, and others, well, they're going to have some conversations about what happened today.
See Clint Bowyer in that 15 car, row 11. He'll be in a backup car when practice gets started on Wednesday.
So that's the lineup for duel race number 1. The top 15 finishers advance to the 500. Duel 2 with outside 500 pole sitter Jimmy Johnson and Matt Kenseth starting on the front row. And again, the top 15 finishers transfer to the 500.
Look at Ty Dillon up there. He's going to start on row 2 in that second Budweiser duel.
I'm sure the Ford guys are a little disappointed. I know that Ricky Stenhouse particularly, I mean, he led practice there with a 2:02 lap to end up in the 5th row. Probably a little disappointed with that, but it just didn't work out for the Ford guys.
But he'll be guaranteed in on speed to the 500, along with Eric Almirola, Carl Edwards, and Jamie McMurray. Everybody else going to have to race their way in, and we'll have it live for you on Thursday.
Coming up tonight on Fox, Mulaney, the season finale, The Simpsons, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers. Whew. On Fox Sports 1, Thursday, Budweiser Duel. The pre-race starts at 5 o'clock. The race starting at 7, and that's when we'll set the rest of the field and the order.
We saw Jeff Gordon be patient today to get the pole. If you're going to make the Daytona 500, it's only a 150-mile race. There's no time for patience. You got to go.
next Sunday right here on Fox. The pre-race show at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific, with the 57th running of the Great American Race.
And to make this race, you got to go through the Twin 150s on Thursday. And the way to do it, no mistakes on pit road. You cannot wreck out early. You must come off at turn 4 and see the checkered flag.
And I know we got a couple of big names starting up front, guys who are the champions who've won the Daytona 500, and Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson. Remember when Trevor Bayne, 125 to 1 the long shot, won the Daytona 500. So anything can happen. It'll be a week of fun. The Budweiser Duel Thursday on FS1. For Kenny Wallace, Michael Waltrip, the entire gang, I'm Chris Spires. Thanks for being a part of NASCAR on Fox. Have a great week. Stay warm. We'll see you next weekend right here.